I remember when I joined the Women's Institute in Waipū, which was, I suppose, about a year after I arrived. And the very first day I was there was a dear old lady there, Mrs. Jean Mackay, and she took me around to introduce me to people. And I remember she introduced me and she said, "She's English, poor thing."
The town of Waipū, about 40 kilometres south of Whangarei, was settled in 1854 by a group of over 800 Scottish settlers. Like many Scots who came to New Zealand in the mid-19th century, they had been forced from their common land in the Scottish Highlands in what was known as the Highland Clearances. The group that landed at Waipū were led by the charismatic preacher Reverend Norman McLeod. He left Scotland in 1817 and attempted to create a religious settlement in Nova Scotia. But in 1851, after repeated crop failures and facing severe hardship, McLeod and his followers, who were known as Normanists, journeyed to Australia in 6 ships they built themselves. Here they found that their attempt to build a better society near Melbourne coincided with the Victorian gold rush, and the price of land was prohibitive. Determined to leave this unsuitable location, McLeod and his followers sailed on to New Zealand, landing at Waipū. Local Māori helped the Scottish settlers to survive during the first challenging years of settlement. They were then joined by more Scots from Nova Scotia and Scotland. Their community became known by the oratory of McLeod, a strict leader whose severe standards inspired some, while alienating others.
His nature and temper were very mysterious, often almost clashing with each other. One side was mild and lovely as could be, while the other was autocratic.
Many of the Scottish pioneers of Waipū took up land and founded farms, many of which were dairy. By 1916, Waipū had a dairy factory to which local farmers brought their milk and cream by cart. Waipū still celebrates its Scottish origins today. Road signs on the edge of the township extend 1,000 welcomes in Gaelic and English. In the main street, a towering plinth topped with the Lion of Scotland commemorates the 6 immigrant ships and the clans who sailed aboard them from Nova Scotia to Waipū. 10 kilometres to the south, at the small seaside settlement of Waipū Cove, a mural on the public toilets depicts the district's history, from the early migration of Māori to New Zealand to the arrival of the Normanists at Waipū. The latter is described as one of the most remarkable unassisted migrations in history. Descendants of the Scottish settlers are drawn to Waipū in considerable numbers. Many visit the museum, where the names of the settlers who arrived in 1854 are listed in the foyer, and genealogical records of their families are held. There are a number of Scottish events in the town, such as the annual Highland Games, which are watched by more than 10,000 people at the local Caledonian grounds. These games, first held in 1871, are one of the oldest celebrations of Scottish identity in New Zealand. In the early years of the 20th century, visitors to the games who arrived at Waipū by steamer were piped from the wharf to the games by members of the local pipe band. Events at the games include tossing the caber, bagpipe playing, and Highland dancing. In 2002, a reenactment of the Normanists' arrival was held at the beach, and plans are in place to perform it again. On the 1st of July, which is International Tartan Day, Waipū locals wear tartan. This celebrates the repeal of the 1782 British law that made it illegal, punishable by 7 years' transportation, to wear tartan within that part of Great Britain called Scotland.